Proximity matters. It's easier. It's less expensive, less of a challenge to get to someplace closer.
But I guess my question is talking about why would someone from Mexico get precedent over someone from sub-Saharan Africa that would want to come here? Because, you know, we let 1 million legal immigrants to the United States every year here. You know, and I bet you we could make that 10 million a year if we decided to do that. But if we were fair about it, I bet you would get the same amount of applications from almost every country in the world, because, you know, America still is seen by many as a special place. So I guess when we go back to the amnesty question, I guess I'm asking why do the 10 million people that are already here get precedent over the 10 million people that want to be here that didn't get to be here?
Well, they get precedent because they're here and they're already a part.
Doesn't matter they broke the law, though, by coming here.
No, a lot of us break the law. A lot of us would break the law to take care of our families, to take care of our basic needs. Why did they come? Is it because the opportunity is greater? Sure, the opportunity is greater. Of course, the land of opportunity. Bring me your poor, your destitute, that kind of thing. But except unless the door's closed. We've got some mixed signals. We send a lot of mixed signals. But let's look at the root cause. The root cause is in these other countries, besides the proximity issue, in these other countries, we've got much less opportunity. Why is there so much less opportunity in those other countries and so much more here? What is there in a humanitarian way that we can do to help people where they are instead of creating a legal and other burden by people coming here? So, and again, a lot of people, from a rational perspective, a lot of people will support when there's the tsunami in the Pacific. How many Americans gave to help the people affected by the tsunami? Well, people are affected by tsunamis every day. It's just not a tsunami. It's a drought. It's a crop failure. It's floods. It's earthquakes. They're affected every day. What are we doing on a consistent basis to help those people? And do we facilitate that in America? Do we at least guide that? I'm not saying that we necessarily, as a government, need to be giving a lot to other countries.
Well, we do today. We give billions and billions of dollars to many countries, including Mexico and European countries even.
But what do we give them for? We give them the tools to kill each other with the weapons. Well,
no, humanitarian aid. The United States is the largest humanitarian aid supplier in the world. Sub-Saharan Africa, Southeast Asia, Mexico. And you know, it's not just military. I mean, we're by far the largest. So I guess the question is, and going back to the amnesty, is just to clarify that you'd be for people that are here get to become citizens, and then what do you do after that? Do you close the border? Do you just say anybody can come that wants to come? Where is the end all there?
It's something that would have to, it would take continuous improvement without closing the border. Closing the border is a very draconian way. It ends up costing a lot more, and again, it creates criminals out of people that are just trying to look out for their best interests.
So we go to terrorism, though. How do you stem the flow of terrorism coming across borders?
I don't agree with that word.
Okay.
I don't even agree with the use of that word, because the very word invokes what we're trying to not do.
So the gentleman that tried to bomb the plane in Detroit is what? What would he be classified
He's a criminal.
He's a criminal. So there's no difference between him and someone that, say, would break into someone's garage and steal something. I mean, they're all just criminals. They're basically the same. There's no heightened sense.
My mother-in-law had her house broken into a couple of years ago, and it was extremely traumatic. It created terror for her. Was that a terrorist that created that terror? It was a criminal.
I think the definition of terrorism, though, is actually to inflict terror on more than just one person. I think they use the term when someone's trying to do mass problems rather than a personal crime.
And
think
when
that's the technical definition.
when we believe in something, then we will use whatever means within our ability to do that. If we applied that term, we go back to the Revolutionary War, because we used non-standard military techniques, we were terrorists from the English perspective.
Well, from their perspective.
So,
Absolutely right. Absolutely, no, you're absolutely right.
So, and I think it's
I
not...
think that's a fair term, though. If from their perspective, it would be, but of course, from our perspective, it wouldn't have been. So you're saying that people the gentleman that wanted to bomb that plane, from his side, we're the terrorists and he's not. Is that kind of the
Definitely. If we look at things from the perspective of other people outside this country, we bring our weapons of mass destruction with our consumerism, with our loose morals from their perspective. We bring those and we destroy their societies, and they're trying to preserve their societies, their way, their beliefs.
Yeah.
So,
I'm trying to understand what you're saying. You said something about consumerism and loose morals. What's the United States promoting over there that does that? I mean, if someone wants, like if a movie producer wants to distribute a movie in another country, I guess that's the market that decides whether they want to import that or not. I don't think it's America, that's pushing a movie into, say, Iran or Afghanistan. I'm trying to understand.
When we insist on free markets, when we push the free markets, and when we drive our interests into areas where their interests, where the local interests are contrary to our interests, then from their perspective, we're pushing something that will destroy their society, their way.
So we're saying by pushing a free market, and I'm not sure I understand the word pushing, if we're introducing a free market, because I guess you can't hold a gun to someone's head and say, buy this. I mean, you basically
we do,
say,
though.
Here, they do. What do they do? How do they do that?
We've taken over countries to drive in free markets. We've been doing it for at least since Teddy Roosevelt, and really before.
Well, I want to keep it current, because I probably would agree with you the fact that there has been times in everyone's history where people have done things that probably weren't appropriate. But I'm just trying to think right now, because we have an issue where we have had people coming and wanting to kill Americans that they don't know. I think that's another definition of terrorism. I mean, robbing someone, locally in a town, a one-on-one criminal act is terrible. But to go out and say, I'm going to go out randomly to a place I don't even know or never been and just randomly kill people for some sake that have nothing directly connected to mine is another. But I want to go on this consumerism thing just for a second, because I'm trying to understand this. So let's just take Iran for an example, because there's a good example where the United States came in, and a lot of people actually didn't agree with the war, but I mean, from what I saw on TV and what I read in the paper, the military may have taken over the military aspect, but I believe they held free elections to elect their own people. So I'm going back to where have we...
I think you said Iran. You mean Iraq, right?
Iraq, excuse me.
Yes.
Iraq. I don't think we held guns to people's heads to want to buy stuff there. I think, I'm not sure about... I'm still trying to understand this consumerism and this free market push.
We've forced in Iraq our interests over Iraqi interests. We've forced... Economically, we've brought in contractors instead of using local citizens.
I believe the contractors hire a lot of local people there, though. I don't think it's...
No, they typically don't.
I think there's a lot of local people that do the grunt work. I agree with you that the engineers and the highly educated people, I agree with that, but
that would be the expectation, but they typically don't. The unemployment in Iraq has soared.
Candidates, actually not in your district, but in the next district over, actually that was his job. Market development in Iraq. So his name's Mr. Vargas. You may want to have a chat with him and talk about that. But I guess what I'm getting back to is that I'm trying to understand your philosophy, and I'm having a difficult time because I don't understand it. Of your feeling that America has pushed consumerism and free market on other people. So from their perspective. We're criminals, or we're terrorists.
Yes.
Okay.
You take a look at the International Monetary Fund, an American-dominated group, the World Bank, American-dominated group, that go in and say,